So in this lesson, we're going to talk about the fundamentals of tea. Tea is a primary ingredient in Kung Fu tea for obvious reasons. And what I have right here in front of me are two different types of teas. This is a white tea and this is an aged liu bao. So I'll just show you this leaf. So this is the white tea. And you can see that this is picked pretty much directly from the tree and has minimal processing on it. So you can see how fragile that leaf is. It's supple, it has green to it. And this gives you an indicator of how you would brew this tea. You know, things that are fresh, more fresh, like a green tea. Green tea basically means that it was picked fresh, it was picked off the plant and is put pretty much as directly in the pot to brew as possible. As opposed to an aged tea, this is a 2005 liu bao. This is an aged fermented tea. And so you can see how much more rough and strong this leaf is, and it looks old. So the indicator in general that this gives you is that this tea, this aged tea, is going to like hot water to really get into that leaf and get the oils out, and a more fragile leaf likes cooler water. To start, I mean, you can get up to hot water with a fragile leaf, but this is one of the reasons why in this course we're sticking to one tea. We're sticking to the aged tea because the brewing of an aged tea is very forgiving. Whereas with teas like this, the conversation is really interesting with these teas because I find the empathy and the conversation I've come to with tea happens a lot more with these leaves because you really have to be sensitive, especially in that first steeping. If you put too hot water on this too soon, it's going to shock the leaf at a cellular level that things will get ripped open. It will affect the flavor. It will affect the brew. So brewing of these teas is very interesting and super fun, but to just get you brewing as quickly as possible with as much confidence as possible, I've decided to work with this aged liu bao. Now, just to think a little bit about how these teas arrive here, okay? So personally, oh my gosh, the world of tea is so vast. I have only even scratched the surface, but sourcing tea is such a major thing. You have to know where your tea is coming from, especially since in the aged tea world, there are cakes of this tea that go for $12,000 or more. So with that type of incentive, you know, there are people who will counterfeit things, who will tell you it's one thing and that's actually another. So finding trusted sources of tea is paramount because this is your core ingredient to your process. Now I'm going to share a bunch of places that I found and trust to buy tea in the resources section. So don't worry about that right now. But considering where the tea comes from. Now, again, I like to drink tea from aged old plants. So 300, 400-year-old trees in a biodiverse environment, places where tea has grown for hundreds or thousands of years. This as opposed to places where it's a monoculture environment with young bushes. So if you're getting leaf from a young plant, there's a certain lack of maturity that leaf is going to have. That plant, just like us when we were children, you know, like nobody's can consult us on important matters of politics or economics, right? So there's a learning in our lives that happen with experience, the passing of time, the sun and the moon passing over the crop, you know, the leaf absorbing that, the roots growing, right? So this is real. This has a real impact on the quality of the tea that's brewed. And you're starting with this old plant material, getting that maturity. Okay, so I like old growth tea, for my aged teas anyway, you know, because it just has that maturity that I'm looking for in the flavor and the energy. Okay, biodiversity is super important. If, you know, the trees, when their roots are going down into the earth, if they're growing amongst different types of plants, then they have a lot more diversity to pull from. That goes up into the root systems, through the trunk, and then into the leaf. You're just getting the most potential, energetic potential that you can out of that particular plant and the experience of tea. Okay, so that's the growth process, right? So now the leaves are on the tree, so now they're picked. Now, again, picking with care is something to consider. Now, with this white tea, you can see a good example. You know, a good sign of tea when you're drinking it is that you can pick out the leaf and you can see the stem and you can see a full leaf, because when stuff is picked by hand, they clip it at the base with their fingernail. So as you wake the tea up and it starts to become supple again and unfold, you want to be seeing full leaf represented in there. This is a sign of that it was picked with care and handled with care. The complete opposite side of the spectrum, of course, is when you get those tea bags and it's just a shredded mess of leaf. You know, the resulting energy from a tea that's been treated like that is something I think we've all experienced. It's a very jittery feeling. It energizes you, but it also kind of makes you crazy at the same time. When you have full leaf teas that have really been taken care of throughout the entire process and you start to drink it, it will energize you, and you can also be meditative at the same time. You have to try it in order to know what I'm talking about. So I just have two teas represented here because I wanted to demonstrate something with a more fragile leaf and something with a more robust leaf of an aged tea. But there are just so many teas to work with and choose from. There's red tea, black tea, oolong, white tea, green tea, liubao, pu'er, sheng pu'er, shou pu'er. And so it's a whole world of discovery. And again, I'm not going to touch on all these things in this course because my intention and my purpose here is to help you get drinking and working with tea as a teacher as soon as possible. And for that purpose, we're going to stick with this one tea, aged tea, and get to brewing as quickly as possible.